Good evening. I am Vittal, President Rotary Club of Coimbatore Metropolis. I welcome all of you both in India and abroad for this thought-provoking lecture by Honorable Justice Ramasubramanian. My hearty welcome, sir, who accepted our invitation to address us on the topic of what next. We are all very eager to hear your inputs about our preparedness, future preparedness. To say a few words about Rotary as a whole, it is a 100-year-old friendship charitable organization. It connects world over in 200 countries with 36,000 clubs and 1.2 million members. Has done a human service to the mankind at large. Spent over $4 billion in life-changing projects. Significant contributions is eradication of polio. Today, 99.9% of world population is polio-free because of Rotary. We have to talk about our own Rotary Club of Metropolis. We have been undertaking charitable activities mainly in the field of health and education. We have provided scholarship to the needy children, built classrooms wherever necessary, also provided training programs for spoken English covering mainly government-aided school children. At present, in COVID-19, which has shaken the world, we have done our bit in providing relief materials to doctors, police personnel, nurses, frontline workers, costing about 85 lakhs of rupees. We have also sponsored a film on doctors, nurses in COVID who are on COVID-19 duty, emphasizing their selfless service. We have undertaken to provide cancer treatment for 100 poor patients in collaboration with GEM Hospital. Our signature project is Hope After Fire. It is in collaboration with Ganga Hospital, providing rehabilitation to burn victims. About this project, I request Dr. Raj Sabapati, our own member, to say a few words and also introduce our esteemed speaker of this evening. Over to Raj Sabapati.
Good evening to all of you. Thank you, Mr. President. It's such a great pleasure to have a man of such a high stature like Justice V. Ramasubramanian to address our club this evening. So thank you very much for sparing your time, sir. And every time and whenever, every week when we have a meeting, and we have got an opportunity to present our project as to what we do in about a couple of minutes. So I consider this a privilege to speak to you about it, sir. Next slide. So the project is the Hope After Fire, by which we are delivering free reconstructive surgery for burn deformities. We started this project in the year 2012 and it has gone on successfully and spreading over relief to so many people. And every week we tell about two stories. This is the story of a young child who came from Perambulur. While her mother was preparing hot water to give her a bath, unfortunately she just put both her hands into the hot water, boiling water. It damaged both her hands, and she did have quite a bit of treatment and multiple surgeries in many places. But then which left her left hand like that and the right hand. So both the hands were not able to, she couldn't use it at all, not hold anything at all. She came to us and this project, and then what we did is we made straightened of all her fingers, and that's what she is able to do. And that's the left hand with which she is using, and that's the right hand now. And there's also right hand, she is able to use all her fingers. And now this morning we just spoke to her parents and asked her, can you please send a picture of she is? And they said, no, sir, thank you so much for this project which Rotary did for us. And she's now going back to school and writing with her hands. The other gentleman was from, he's far away from Tirunelveli. I think he came from Tirunelveli. He had this injury, the burn contract like this. He had a problem and he is not able to use them. And the mere sight of his made him not be able to go back to his work. And socially, he was really was socially distancing him. That's what we should say. And here again, we operated him, and then he has now gone back to his work. He works in a paper boards company, and he's been extremely grateful for what this project has done to him. And we feel we are very privileged, not that we are helping them, that then we feel privileged that we are able to do them for some. The journey for so far, sir, we have operated on 550 patients, sir, or around 900 surgeries, and the value of it is about 5 crores. And we are all of us are very happy that we are part of this journey. And my dear friends, more than this, I think we should all feel privileged that we have such an eminent luminary in the field of law as Justice V. Ramasubramanian with this evening. And it's always said that a man could be extraordinarily good in his chosen profession. That's one. And second, in addition to that, some of us can become a multifaceted personality. Yeah, you could become a good humorist, as Mr. Justice Ramasubramanian is. And the third thing, which is extremely more difficult, is to be upright in the chosen profession, hold on to high ethical principles, and also being a good human being. I think God has to bless people if they have to have all these three into one. And I think I should say that Justice V. Ramasubramanian has been one such person, and we are very happy to have him today. He had a very successful career in the law in Chennai, and then after that he became a judge of the High Court of Chennai High Court in 2006. But then what really struck people was he's just not a judge. He was a great instant hit with both the bench and the bar. And in addition to that, he went on a lecture circuit. I said, people have multivarious things. He went on a lecture circuit, and his motivational speeches really enthralled a lot of people, including young students. And I think his speeches attracted people of all ages, because this morning when I was telling in that home that you are the speaker, both my wife and my mother said, both of them said he's a good speaker. So I think, cutting across the ages, he's very popular. And naturally, his landmark judgments and his skill and knowledge in law attracted, and he had a very good career. And now he's the judge of the Supreme Court. And holding this high office has not really gone on to his head. And then he's extremely simple. He is very easily approachable, and more than all that, I would say he's a great human being, because he is very akin to, he understands what suffering is, and so many judgments that he has given, I think will exemplify that he's a great human being. So we are so grateful to you, sir, for accepting your invitation, and we look forward to your talk. I think lots of us are eagerly waiting for it, sir. Friends, I am very happy to present to you our Honorable Justice V. Ramasubramanian. Thank you so much for coming, sir.
Dear Rotarians of Coimbatore Metropolis, a very good day to all of you. When Mr. Krishnan of Krishna Sweets requested me to address you all during this lockdown, I immediately accepted the invitation for one important reason. I have always been fascinated by the four-way test that is prescribed for a Rotarian. In my humble view, this four-way test borders on what we call as four pillars of Sanatana Dharma, or the Indian wisdom. How do they match? Let us take a look. The four-way test is, number one, is it the truth? This first test is what our ancestors called as Satya. The second test is it fair to all concerned? This is what our ancestors called as dharma. The third test is, will it build relationships and friendships? This is what our ancestors called as Shanti. The fourth test is, will it be beneficial to all concerned? If it is so, if it will benefit all concerned, then there will be peace, there will be prema, there will be love. Therefore, in my humble view, the four-way test is actually a Western model of the four pillars of the Indian Dharma, namely Satya, Dharma, Shanti and Prema. That is the reason why I accepted the invitation to address you all during this lockdown period. I was told that the general theme chosen for the series of lectures arranged by the Rotary Club of Coimbatore Metropolis is, what next? It's a very interesting question. What next is a question that keeps popping up like advertisements on our screens whenever we are into the internet. This question pops up very often in our lives. The moment a child completes his 10th standard, the question what next is asked in relation to the branch which the child proposes to choose in the intermediate or the higher secondary course. Are you going to take engineering, medicine, commerce, humanities or law? This is what is indicated by the question what next, addressed to a child appearing for the 10th standard examination. After the child completes the higher secondary course or the intermediate course, this question again comes up, what next? Would you like to take medicine? Are you going to go for an engineering course or a 5-year law course or whatever it is? The child enters into one of these streams. It completes the graduation. At the time when the graduation is completed, this question again pops up. What next? Higher education or employment or business? The moment the child chooses to go for employment or chooses a profession or business, after a couple of years, this question what next is asked in relation to the marriage prospects of the boy or the girl. Once he or she is married, the question what next is asked in relation to the birth of the child. When the child grows up, the father or mother, as the case may be, by the time he or she reaches 40 years of age, the question what next is asked both in relation to his career prospects and in relation to what he is going to do with his child. Once he is settled well in his career or business or profession and reaches the age of 60 years, the question what next is asked in relation to his child, which is ready for marriage. So the question what next is something that chases a man or a woman throughout his life. Alternatively, every human being chases this question what next. But it is always in relation to a future event that we ask this question. Predominantly, this question is asked for the purpose of planning for the future. But unfortunately, today the question what next has popped up not in relation to a perfect planning for the future, but in relation to our present condition when all of us have come to face certain realities in life. I say realities in life because what we ought to have known at all points of time, but we have omitted to know, is what this lockdown and this corona has taught us. And it is in relation to this particular context that this question, what next, has got to be addressed. All of you will agree that our lives, including our perceptions, have been turned completely upside down by this corona. See what has happened. Persons who were imprisoned by way of penalty for the commission of certain crimes, they have been let out depending upon the nature of the case and the nature of the punishment imposed upon them. This has been done in order to prevent the spread of the virus. In other words, people who were inside have been let out, but people like us who are outside have now been confined to our homes. Those who were in are out, and those who were out are in. Our lives have been turned upside down. But at the same time, this is an opportunity given by God, or whatever it is, for changing our attitude also. Today, we have also started looking at certain positive aspects, despite being confined at home with no income, no outing, no entertainment, except for what is provided in the social media or in the TV. The positive attitude that we have developed is on account of what we see around in the environment. Nature has had a good time without the interference by human beings. This is something good that has come out of what we have suffered as something bad. Many of you would have heard about a great Chinese philosopher by name Lao. He was a contemporary of another philosopher by name Confucius. Both of them, Lao and Confucius, are said to have lived during the 6th and 4th centuries BC. Lao was the founder of a philosophical thought called Taoism. His collection of writings are compiled into a book titled Tao Te Ching. In Tao Te Ching, Lao says something which is very, very interesting and which I think fits into the scheme of things exactly as of now. Just look at what Lao says in his Tao Te Ching. I quote, "Good fortune has its roots in disaster, and disaster lurks with good fortune. Who knows why these things happen, or when the cycle will end? Good things seem to change into bad, and bad things often turn out for good. These things have always been hard to comprehend." I unquote. Look at the magic of the words spun by Lao. According to him, good fortune has its roots in disaster, and disaster lurks with good fortune. And according to Lao, good things emerge out of bad things, and bad things often turn out for good. Maybe this corona, which we now perceive as bad, may bring about certain good things. It has already brought certain good things, and it may in future also bring about certain good things if we have to go by what Lotche says. Just look at our lives. All of us, busy as we were in our professional lives and family lives and commitments, had one common complaint throughout. The complaint was, "Sir, I want to spend quality time with my family, but I have no time. I want to read good books, but I have no time. Whenever there is a book fair, I go and buy a whole lot of books, but I have never found time to read any of them. I would love to watch good movies, but I have no time. I wanted to listen to good music, but I had no time." This is a common complaint that all of us had until March 24th, 2020. Perhaps nature thought that it must redress our grievances. That is the result. That has resulted in this lockdown when nature has provided us 55 days into 24 hours, all the time in the world, to spend quality time with family, to read good books, to watch good movies, and to listen to good music. Therefore, whatever complaint that we had until March 24th, nature has now removed. We can never have any more complaint that we have no time to do certain good things in life. This is one positive outcome of this corona and the lockdown. During normal times, we were slaves to our own mindsets. How did we attain this slavery? Just have a look at this. We measured the quality of our lives by the hugeness of the house that we owned, by the quality of the car that we possessed, the extent of wealth that we accumulated, the volume of income that we earned, and the attainment of success in our professional or business, professional life or business. These, unfortunately, became the parameters for us to mention the quality of our lives until the advent of this lockdown. In normal times, we had certain priorities, a set of priorities. These priorities always started from a good house, a posh car, a reasonable amount of wealth, a good amount of income, and a great degree of success in our career. This is how we prioritized what we wanted in life. But this lockdown has completely changed it. Some of you must have heard about a very interesting story under the caption "Mayonnaise Jar." The story goes like this. A professor stood before his philosophy class and had some items in front of him. When the class began, he picked up a large and empty mayonnaise jar and proceeded to fill it with golf balls. He then asked the students if the jar was full. They agreed that it was. The professor then picked up a box of pebbles and poured them into the jars. He shook the jar lightly. The pebbles rolled into the open spaces in between the golf balls. He then asked the students again if the jar was full. They agreed it was. The professor next picked up a box of sand and poured it into the jar. Of course, the sand filled every other space inside the jar. He once again asked if the jar was full, and the answer of the students was yes. The professor then produced 2 cups of coffee from under the table and poured the contents into the jar, effectively filling whatever empty space was left in between the sands. The students laughed. Now the professor said, as the laughter subsided, he said, I want you to recognize that this jar represents your life. The golf balls are the important things in your life, namely your family, your children, your health, your friends, and your favorite passions. And if everything else is lost and only these things remained, your life would still be full. The pebbles are the other things that matter, such as your job, your house, your car, etc. The sand, of course, is a smaller stuff, such as the balance that you have in the bank account and the jewelry that you have. Then the professor proceeded. He said, if you put the sand in the jar first, there is no room for the pebbles or the golf balls. The same goes for life. If you spend all your time and energy on the smaller stuff, you will never have room for the things that are important to you. Pay attention to the things that are critical to your happiness. Play with your children. Take time to get medical checkups. Take your spouse out for dinner. Play another 18. There will always be time to clean the house. Take care of the golf balls first, the things that really matter. Set your priorities. The rest is just sand. This is how the professor explained the philosophy of life. As soon as he completed, one student stood up and asked a question. Professor, what about the coffee? You did not indicate what it represents. The professor smiled and said, I am glad you asked. It just goes to show that no matter how full your life may seem, there is always room for a couple of cups of coffee with a friend, probably in the Rotary Club of Metropolis. So Corona and lockdown has given us time to set our priorities right, because it has taken away from our lives the pebbles and sand. We are now left only with golf balls and our lives. Our lives are full because we have our families with us. Dear friends, the greatest lesson according to me that this corona and lockdown has provided to us is that we should redo our priorities. According to me, what are we supposed to do? Someone said very interestingly that in modern day, a man chases wealth up to the age of 40 years after sacrificing his health. After the age of 40 years, he spends all the wealth that he has earned to regain the health that he has lost, but it never happens. Therefore, health is one important aspect that probably this 55-day lockdown has given us some insight into. I would talk about 4 different types of health for all of us to keep in mind. The first is physical health. The second is emotional health. The third is mental health. And the fourth is spiritual health. According to the Upanishads, a human being comprises of several layers, several sheaths. The first layer represents the body, physical body. The second layer is the mind. The third layer is the intellect. And the fourth layer is the soul. Unless the health of all these 4 layers are taken care of, we can never lead a happy and healthy life. I used to wonder how the priority between our physical body and our physical possessions has changed over a period of time. When I was in school, I lived in an area called Triplicane in Chennai. It was during the late 1960s. My father used to tell me that almost all the houses in the street where we lived in Triplicane were purchased or occupied by the present owners during the Second World War, when people fled their homes for fear of Madras being bombed by Emden. My father used to tell me that some of the house owners took whatever money people were prepared to pay, like 5 rupees and 10 rupees, in order to sell their house properties to escape the bombing and to run away from Madras. But look at the scenario today. Suppose there is a threat of one city being bombed today. I do not think that any of us would flee our homes after selling our houses. We would think that in case the bombing actually happens and we die, our children may retain our properties. In case it doesn't happen, we will continue to enjoy the property. But in case we sell the property and we survive the catastrophe, we will never be able to buy one more property. Therefore, today we would choose to forego our lives but not our properties. What has happened to this in the past about 80 years? 1939-1940, our forefathers thought that their lives were more precious than the houses that they owned. Their lives were more valuable than the immovable properties that they possessed. But today, our properties are more valuable than our human lives. That is the perception which we have acquired over a period of time, and the priorities have changed. This mindset has first affected our physical health. I will tell you how it has affected us. I am sure that many of you would be owning a newly bought car. We buy cars worth 40 lakhs, 50 lakhs, 1 crore. The moment we buy a very prestigious model, we go through the booklet And we choose carefully to send the car for the first service after 5,000 kilometers, second service after 10,000 kilometers, third service after 20,000 kilometers. We look after the car, which is worth 40 lakhs, 50 lakhs, so well that we maintain it in perfect condition. Most of us take pride in telling our friends that we maintain our cars very well. A car which is worth 40 lakhs, 50 lakhs, bought by us, is maintained very well by us, and we send it for periodical checkup. But look at our own bodies. From the time of our birth till we are afflicted by a very serious disease, do we send our bodies for overhauling, regular checkup? And do we really maintain our bodies? We don't. Because we think our possession, namely the car, is more valuable than the health of our physical bodies. Our physical body is worth several crores of rupees, but we realize it only when we lose our health. On the contrary, we realize the value of a car, a petty thing in comparison to our physical body, and we send it for periodical checkup and periodical overhauling, maintenance. This is something which all of us should change. In Ayurveda, our traditional system of medicine, Sushruta advocates only 4 simple truths for a healthy living. But unfortunately, most of us will not be able to follow these 4 simple truths. The reason is that they are so simple that we will tend to overlook them. The 4 simple truths for a healthy living advocated by Sushruta are: number 1, eat less. I don't think we do it during this lockdown period. Number 2, do more physical work. Number 3, have quality sleep at least for 6 hours a day. And number 4, don't carry any worry beyond a point. These are the 4 simple truths, 4 simple methods of physical well-being according to Ayurveda. But unfortunately, these are such simple truths that we tend to ignore them. I think it's time for us to prioritize our own lives much more than our possessions and properties. The reason as to why we have started attaching more value to our properties than to our personal lives is that today we are treated in high esteem by our peers in society only when we have a particular status in life. If we do not have a particular status in life, we carry no respect. This is unfortunately the mindset that has crept into all of us. I can tell you another interesting story. A group of graduates who were very well established in the careers chosen by them met at a reunion. It was an alumni meet. All of them were assembled for the alumni meet had been very successful in their careers, and they were meeting after 30 years of completion of their college studies. They decided to go to one of their favorite professors who had retired and who was just past 90 When they visited their professor, retired professor, and picked up a conversation with them, they told the professor that all of them were very successful in their careers, but they were all leading a very stressed out life. The professor listened to each one of them with concern, but did not say anything. He went inside and he brought a huge pot of hot chocolate and offered it to the students who had come to meet him. Along with the large pot of hot chocolate, the professor also brought a lot of cups to enable the students to take the hot chocolate. But the professor did not have identical cups to serve all the students. The cups that the professor brought represented an assortment. Some of them were porcelain cups, some of them were glass cups, some of them were crystal, some of them were plain looking, some of them were very exquisite, some of them looked very expensive. After keeping the assortment of cups and the pot of chocolate, hot chocolate, on the table, the professor requested the students to help themselves. When all of them had a cup in their hand, a cup of hot chocolate in their hands, the professor told them something very interesting. He said, "My dear students, please notice that all the nice looking expensive cups were taken first, leaving behind the plain and the cheap ones. While it is normal for you to want only the best for yourselves, that is the source of your problems and stress. The cup that you are drinking from adds nothing to the quality of the hot chocolate. In most cases, it is just more expensive, and in some cases even hides what we drink. What all of you wanted was hot chocolate and not the cup, but you consciously went for the best cups, and then you began eyeing each other's cups. Consider this. Life is the hot chocolate. Your job, money, and position in society are the cups. They are just tools to hold and contain life. The cup that you have does not define nor change the quality of life that you have. Sometimes, by concentrating only on the cup, we fail to enjoy the hot chocolate God has provided us. God makes the hot chocolate, but man chooses the cups. The happiest people don't have the best of everything. They just make the best of everything that they have. Live simply, live generously, care deeply, speak kindly, and enjoy your hot chocolate. This was the message given by the professor to the students who were otherwise successful in life but felt stressed out because of their attitudes. I think it's high time for us to change our attitude so that we understand the priorities to be accorded in our lives. I would just wind up with one interesting event that happened in the life of Patinathar. All of you must have heard about Patinathar. Patinathar was one of the richest businessmen. He was a merchant in diamond and various other artifacts. He used to advance money to the king, but all of a sudden he relinquished everything in life. He became a renunciate. With just a towel around his waist, he left everything and went and sat in a temple. People told the local king that Patinathar had relinquished everything and with just a towel around his waist he has gone and sat in the temple. Local king went to Patinathar and he asked him, "What have you found in this life? Why are you doing this? What pleasure do you have in doing this?" Patinathar smiled at the king and told him, "O king, so long as I was a businessman and I was a householder, every now and then I used to come to your palace. Whenever I came to your palace, I used to come with some offering. I was always paying you something, either in the form of taxes or in the form of gifts. I never received anything from you, but I always gave you something. Even when I came to your palace to give you something, I used to stand in front of you with folded hands. You used to sit in the throne. Today I have nothing except this loin cloth and a towel around my waist. But I am sitting and you are standing and answering my questions. This is the change I have perceived by relinquishment. And that is why our Shastras said, Na karmana, na prajaya, dhanena, tyagena yeke amritatva manasuhu. Immortality is achieved only by sacrifice and selfless service. And it is this that we should remind ourselves during this lockdown period and tune our mindsets. Once we do this, we will not bother very much about what next. We will live in the present and we will know what lies ahead of us. After all, whatever was our past creates whatever is going to be our future. So the question what next will no more bother us if we alter our mindset and change our priorities. With these few words, I thank the Rotary Club of Coimbatore Metropolis for this wonderful opportunity and I wish you all the best. Thank you.
Sir, thank you so much for such an insightful talk that expertly blended sound advice and spirituality. What really shone through the 40 minutes of your talk was how you approach such a complex topic in such simple terms that all of us can relate to. We are honored and privileged to have the opportunity to listen to a person of your stature. Sir, I hope you recall your visit as a chief guest to our club function in 2018 for Padma Shri Dr. Nagasami's felicitation, as well as presiding over our prestigious Kumaran Kuttai water body project inauguration with Siruduli. It was fascinating today to listen to your analogy between the four-way rotary test and the Sanatana Dharma, Satya, Dharma, Shanti, and Prema. As you rightly said, like an advertisement, every day in our lives, every stage in our lives, the question, what next, keeps popping up. The context, seriousness, and the impact can change, but the question remains the same throughout our life. Today, a different what next confronts us, not as individuals, not as families, not even as businesses, or not even as a nation, but instead humanity as a whole. Like a naughty child told to stay in his or her room to think over the mischief done, the whole world has been forced to stay at home. Sir, you rightly pointed out that this is indeed a time to introspect and a time to embrace positivity. The forced break has definitely been good for nature, as we can see from the clear skies and water. As you so well explained, the message from the Chinese philosopher Lao Tse is more relevant than ever. Good fortune indeed has its roots in disaster. That is indeed the central thought around which all of us need to rally ourselves around and take this as an opportunity to reflect, rethink, recover, and reinvent. We wholeheartedly agree with your positive outlook, quality family time, catching up with our hobbies, all these activities which we have put aside as no time are today fulfilled desires. You helped us realize that all our material possessions, which we've been chasing endlessly, actually pale in front of our real priorities. Priorities that we have been made to realize now, such as family, happiness, health, and our well being. Today, hopefully, we can break free of these shackles and claim freedom from our slavery to these material pursuits. We can definitely relate to your example of the jar that could not be filled easily and thus prioritize on the larger things in life and those that truly impacted happiness. Like you really said, sir, we all look forward to that coffee with our friends once the lockdown lifts. Your clarion call to action, reassess our priorities with the four types of health: physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual, is something that all of us are going to think over and try to implement to the best of our abilities. Sir, your message on looking after four types of health and instead not take pride in ownership of our cars at the cost of neglecting our own health, which is much more valuable, is indeed an eye opener. We will change your outlook, sir, and focus on the four simple things, the examples you gave from Shushruta that you have asked us to do. The greatness of a person and the depth of knowledge all have extreme simplicity at the core. And this is so well brought out during your talk. Failing to enjoy the hot chocolate of life is what lands us in distress. We wholeheartedly thank you, sir, for an engrossing, thought provoking, and simple yet profound talk. In fact, today is the sixth in this virtual talk series. We've had luminaries, both national and international, people from Sukhi Sivam, Dr. Sudha Seshayan, Swami Sukhabhogananda, and Ganesh Mathur of the World Bank, Chris Gopalakrishnan, and today we have the honor of listening to you, sir. Thank you to our President Vittal, our Secretary Rajan, and our Club Admin Varadarajan. Our special thanks, as always, to Rotarian Krishnan, who has been instrumental in securing for us a galaxy of thought leaders. I will now hand over to our President Vittal for the concluding remarks. Thank you once again, sir, from the bottom of our hearts for your insightful conversation today. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Prasad. You have summed it up very nicely, the whole lecture. This is probably the last of this series of What Next. But what a grand finale is this. I would cherish this forever. Sir, you have taught us how to lead life, but not for this particular what next. You have also taught us how to take it forward from now onwards. Probably this lecture of yours, we would like to preserve it and listen to it over and over again in future also. Thank you very much, sir. And the meeting is adjourned.